Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity, Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Panwo TV. Well, I've returned to the Leicester Secular Society to expand a little bit on the kind of things I was saying in the last film and make a little part two. Now, as you remember in the first part, I got into a bit of trouble because somebody objected to me filming, if you remember. Someone actually challenged me. They said I was filming their car and stuff like this. They didn't want their car filmed. I was just filming in their vicinity on a public street and they didn't like it. If someone doesn't like it, I'm afraid that's just too bad, because all of us have a right to film on a public street if we wish, and so remember your rights in that department. Don't let anyone try to stop you. Right, I just wanted to, I know I said I'd just put a few links in the description box and leave it at that, but I think I should say a little bit more about my views on the atheist and secularist ideas. Now, as I said before, I didn't really, in a sense, I warmed to this kind of place because, as I said before, the secularism and atheism are two different things. For instance, they got a statue of Jesus outside Secular Hall, which, of course, the British Humanist Association would never even think of. I think that's basically is. I read Richard Dawkins' book. It's called The God Delusion, and I wrote a review of it, which is in the link in the description box, as I said. Now, I was quite pleased actually, because loads of people commented on it, including a guy called David Colhoun, who was a friend of Richard Dawkins. And if Colhoun has commented on it, it means probably Dawkins himself has read it, which is quite good, you know. Now, what you find is that organisations like the British Humanist Association, like secular societies like these, they say they're standing up for the rights of atheists. Well, you know what? I support that 100%. Yep, I really do. I'm 100% behind the idea of standing up for the rights of atheists. I'm also myself a secularist. I don't believe religion and government should mix. But what concerns me about new atheism, people like Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, Daniel Dennett, Sam Harris, these other people like that, and people in organisations like, not so much the secularists, but the militant atheists, the humanists as they're called, is that they are not on their guard against something which has become pretty prevalent in this world. Alright, and that is that the oppressed and oppressors swap roles. Groups of people, one side will oppress the other, and then the oppressed will then become the oppressor. They will swap roles. And I don't think modern new atheists are on their guard against that. Against that coming to that. You see, they'll say things like, we believe that atheists should have rights. They'll say, we want to promote rights for atheists, we want to have equal rights for atheists, we want atheists to be able to take public office in America, which of course in America it's a bigger deal, it's not so much over here. But at the same time, what they'll say is that in the past, when religion was very politically powerful in the Middle Ages, you know, atheists would be burned at the stake. You know, or they'd be banned from holding public office, or they'd be banned from marrying and things like that. You know, if you're an atheist, and it's true, I mean, if you were an atheist 200 years ago, it wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy life. And if today, in some parts of the United States, if you're an atheist, again, it's not an easy. You know, you have a lot of trouble. You get a lot of problems thrown your way. But, and of course, you know, anyone who experiences injustice against themselves or their people, whatever that might be, colour, race, religion, nationality, anything like that, will want justice. They want to be freed from that injustice. And of course, that's only natural. But the psychological manipulators of our society The psychological manipulators of our society, they provide solutions for injustice, but those solutions only ever take one form: an attempt to cancel the injustice out with another injustice, to fight fire with fire, as explained in the first film. Now, I would hate to live in a religious theocracy, which most of the world was a few hundred years ago, and indeed some parts of the world still are. Some parts of the United States, some areas in the Middle East which are Muslim theocracies. I wouldn't want that. But at the same time, I would be equally disturbed of living in a theocracy. And before anyone says anything, right, who's an atheist, I'm not going to bring up Marxism. As I said in the first film, that's entirely different, the Russian Revolution, stuff like that. But I'm going to make the point that there have been periods in history, for instance during the period in the French Revolution, when there was an atheocracy, and a lot of damage was done to people's lives. And so if atheists say it's never happened before, well, it has happened before in a small scale, and it could happen again. And I think we need to be on our guard against that, whatever our own personal views are on the existence of God and religion. And I mean, I think what's encouraged, what has actually caused me to make this second film, I should get, so if I can be a bit personal, I have just come back from a funeral. This is what I'm travelling for. This is why I'm stopping off at Leicester. And it's got me thinking, because the funeral we had, I'll write more about it on Her Panwo Voice, but the funeral I went to was not religious, but it was not humanist either. I had to find, I've got a friend of mine to officiate, Alice Taylor, he officiated it, because I didn't want a religious funeral this person didn't want a religious funeral, and I didn't want to go to that. But also, we looked into the British Humanist Association and their funerals, and they didn't seem right either. So we wanted something entirely different. And for people like the humanists and modern atheists, like Richard Dawkins, they don't quite get it. My biggest criticism of the God delusion was that Richard Dawkins basically writes a very, very long, detailed tirade against how organised religions are false, and at the end of this he says, well, there you are, there's no God then. Well, you see, that really misses the point. It assumes that organised religion and God are the same thing, or that organised religion is linked to God, or that organised religion as we know it defines God. The truth of the matter is, it's perfectly plausible that this universe we live in has developed some form of consciousness or intelligence. I think that's quite plausible when you look at its complexity and its depth and its beauty. And it's convenient to call that intelligence, that consciousness, God. But all we know is that the religions have nothing to do with it. I actually wrote to a man called Alistair McGrath. I wrote to him asking if I could interview him on Her Panwo Radio. He wrote back a very nice letter saying he couldn't because he was too busy teaching. He's a university don at Oxford or London now, and he was just a bit too busy. But you know, he's one of Richard Dawkins' most virulent critics. Now, Dawkins doesn't like criticism. He calls people who criticise him fleas. He says anyone who criticises him is a flea biting the back of a dog, and that to me is very ignorant indeed. He writes a book and expects no one to criticise it. Come off it, Richard. Now, so I'd say to atheists, you know, I support your rights, just like I support everyone's rights to freedom from oppression, from prejudice, from abuse as a result of who you are. But I don't believe you can fight injustice by trying to cancel it out with another injustice. And that's what this Illuminati occupied society always gives us, always tells us that that's what we have to do. That's the only solution to any injustice. And there is a link between this organisation, the Leicester Secular Society, and more general areas of that kind of falsehood. And as I was explaining, it's not there now because they've moved it. But there was a newsletter here with a tirade based on feminism. And I'm the first to say, right? If any, you know, I'm the first to stand up for the rights of women to be treated properly in our society as equal human beings. All right. But what you get with feminism is, it is exactly what I was talking about just now. Feminism is an attempt to heal an injustice by trying to cancel it out with another injustice. And all you get is a double dose of injustice. What this newsletter was saying was what I was talking about last week. Like if somebody carries out a bank robbery and they shoot someone, it's isn't that awful? The person who carried out the bank robbery, aren't they horrible? Aren't they bad people for doing that? Someone carries out a shooting or a mugging, again, they're bad people for doing that. They're evil people, they're nasty people for doing that, and it's a crime that they committed as individuals. But rape is different. With rape, what the way feminists portray it is, oh dear, the state has failed to protect women from the natural sexually violent, predacious nature of men, right? They have failed in their duty to protect the better half of humanity from its degenerate lower half. That is nonsense. It is dangerous nonsense, as well as insulting nonsense. And it was all starting out on a very noble cause. It was all starting out from the very, very genuine, noble desire to give women, protect women from oppression, allow them the same opportunities as men. The Labour Party is another example, because this fought for the rights of working class people. It was set up, I think, by genuine people. Just like this organisation was set up by genuine people to fight for the rights of working class people in this country. And within a century of its founding, Tony Blair is its leader, leading the country into a war of conquest in the Middle East. A member of the bloody Fabian Society. The same way, I'd say the same to black people or Asian people or people of other races or non-white races. You know, I support you 100% in your campaign for equal treatment and for protection from slavery, protection from oppression. People like Martin Luther King are my heroes. But it is again, you've got the transformation. What started out as a very genuine cause has mutated into what you see today in places like South Africa, where there's a man called Julius Malema, who is a Marxist, but he's one of the richest. He's not the richest Marxist in the world, but he's a very, very hypocritical one, because he's one of the least working class ones in the world. Drives big fast cars, a big fast house. He's talking about putting white people in concentration camps, banning white people from the country, you know, and things like that. And again, we're seeing this desire, this urge, which is a manipulated urge, to fight injustice by trying to cancel it out with another injustice. And what you've got to realise is that these desires don't just appear naturally. I mean, humans are not naturally like that. Despite what you might say, that's not just human nature. These things are manipulated. And it's important not to fall for that manipulation. It's important because what the Illuminati like to do is they like to have us fighting each other. It's divide and conquer. It's the oldest trick in the book, but it keeps working, so they keep using it. Keep on fighting each other. Firstly, they have slavery, so black people are treated like dirt, or women are treated badly, or atheists are treated badly, until eventually they're not willing to put up with it anymore. So then the Illuminati, then they get behind the black people, and they get behind women, and they get behind gay people, and then they say, well, let's treat your former oppressors badly. It's a kind of indiscriminate revenge. That's the problem about revenge, and I'll say more about this later. You know, we're very much encouraged to take revenge against people who do bad to us, and it's natural to want to do that. It's natural to want to get back at someone who treats you badly. But the problem is it's not always possible to get back at the people who treated you badly. So instead of giving up, it turns into an obsession where you start attacking people who've not done you any wrong, but bear a coincidental resemblance to the person who did you wrong, or the people who did you wrong. They may be the same colour, the same gender, in which case half the human race is a potential target for your venom, or the same religion, or the same nationality. And the Illuminati manipulate that. They exploit that. They harness it. And what that means is that this divide and rule game, they can perpetuate it for as long as they like. First they have men treating women badly, or whites treating blacks badly. Then they reverse it, so the black people treat the whites badly, and women treat men badly, and the whites and the men are second-class citizen. Inevitably, you're going to get a backlash against that, and it'll go back to what it was before, and we'll go full circle. Until we break out, until we get wise to it, and we break out of that, and we stop falling for that. So I say, people in this organisation, the Leicester Secular Society, and all other secular, atheist, humanist organisations, you're quite right to fight for your rights. You're quite correct to want equal treatment, to want your own people to be treated well. You're quite right for that. But you don't achieve that. You don't find you don't get justice by becoming unjust yourself. Things don't even out by making things uneven in the opposite direction, by you becoming the oppressors of religion. And I've just seen a video in which the British Humanist Association is attacking the Steiner schools. And that's another thing I've got to remember to put in the description box. The British Humanist Association attacks the Steiner schools, which is a big subject, but basically the Steiner schools are spiritual but not religious schools, and the British Humanist Association wants them taken off the state-funded list, and they're opposing that. And you don't get, that's not for me someone sticking up for their rights. That's somebody who stuck up for their rights and now wants to become the oppressor themselves through the manipulation by the Illuminati. At the end of the day, it all comes back to the Illuminati. All roads lead to Babylon, as David Icke says. And this is David Icke's hometown, Leicester, where he was born and grew up, although he lives on the Isle of Wight now, like I was saying. And as I was saying, the whole thing is orchestrated from these various think tanks. It's orchestrated from the Fabian Society. As I was just saying, Tony Blair, Labour Party leader, member of the Fabian Society. The Frankfurt School. These organisations, by their own admission, want to take over the world. They are New World Order organisations. The emblems of the Fabian Society are a wolf in sheep's clothing, and also two blacksmiths hammering on an anvil. But the thing they're hammering is not a horseshoe or something like that. It's the planet Earth. They're hammering into shape. They're hammering into the shape that they want it. That's where it all comes from. That's where these things are organised by top psychologists, people like organised within the Tavistock Institute. People with over 70 years experience in manipulating human minds. We have to get wise, we have to understand, we have to be aware of that danger. And the people in these walls need to be aware of that danger. In the walls of the Leicester Secular Society. I've been going for 20 minutes now. What's the time? I think I've got to go and catch me coach now. All right. Nobody's come. This time nobody's come up and told me not to film. So that's nice. Thank you for watching a Panwo TV. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order.